Heartbreak is one of the most profound experiences we can go through in life. It shakes us to the core, makes us question our worth, and often leaves us feeling lost. But heartbreak, painful as it is, also carries an invaluable lesson. It teaches us about love, about resilience, and about the strength we never knew we had when someone you love leaves, or when life doesn't turn out the way you hoped. It's natural to feel sad, angry, or even betrayed. But remember, your pain is not a punishment. It's a sign that you loved deeply, and that is a beautiful thing. The first step to healing is acceptance. Accept that it happened. Don't blame yourself or someone else. Life has a way of redirecting us toward experiences that are ultimately for our growth. Next, allow yourself to feel. Bottling up emotions may seem like strength, but real strength is feeling fully and then gently letting go. Cry if you need to, write your feelings down, or speak to someone you trust. These are acts of courage, not weakness. Third, remember that heartbreak does not define you. Your worth is not measured by who stays or leaves, by who loves you or doesn't. You are inherently valuable simply for being you. Fourth, forgive, not for the other person, but for yourself. Forgive your mistakes, forgive the situation, forgive the unmet expectations. Forgiveness frees your heart. Fifth, focus on self-growth. Invest your energy in your passions, your health, your spiritual and emotional well-being. Heartbreak gives you a unique opportunity to rediscover yourself. Sixth, surround yourself with positivity. Be with friends and family who uplift you. Avoid dwelling in negativity. Remember, energy flows where attention goes. Seventh, understand impermanence. Just as seasons change, so do feelings and situations. Heartbreak is temporary. It does not last forever. Give yourself the gift of patience. Eighth, embrace gratitude. Even in pain, there are lessons, experiences, and memories to cherish. Gratitude transforms suffering into understanding. Ninth, learn from the experience. Every heartbreak carries a lesson about love, about boundaries, about your own heart. When you reflect calmly, you gain wisdom that lasts a lifetime. Lastly, remember that love is abundant. Just because one chapter ends doesn't mean the story is over. There is a world full of possibilities, and your heart will heal and love again, stronger and wiser than before. Heartbreak is not the end. It is a bend in your journey, an invitation to grow, and a reminder that even in sorrow, your heart is capable of incredible courage. Heartbreak is one of those experiences that feels almost unbearable in the moment. It is like a sudden storm that sweeps through your life, leaving everything you thought was stable, shaken, and uncertain. The first step toward healing from this storm is acceptance. Accepting heartbreak does not mean that you like it, approve of it, or are ready to move on immediately. Acceptance simply means acknowledging the reality of what has happened. Often, the human mind resists pain because it wants to hold on to what was or control what will be. But life rarely works according to our desires. Sometimes situations unfold that are beyond our control, And people leave or choices change in ways that break our hearts. Resisting this truth only adds layers of suffering. It is like trying to stop the ocean from moving. It is futile and exhausting. Acceptance, on the other hand, is like letting the water flow past you. You may feel the cold, the force, the turbulence, but you no longer fight it. When we accept heartbreak, we stop blaming ourselves, others, or the situation. We realize that life is a series of experiences, and not every experience is meant to stay forever. The relationship, the attachment, or the dream that ended was a chapter in your journey, not the entirety of your story. Acceptance allows us to see that nothing in life is permanent. People, circumstances, and even feelings change. Understanding this impermanence helps to soften the sharp edges of pain. It allows the heart to breathe instead of being trapped in a cage of resistance and denial. Acceptance also creates this space for reflection. When we accept what has happened, we are able to pause and observe the experience without judgment. We can ask ourselves gently, what did I learn from this? How did this experience reveal my own strengths, vulnerabilities, or values? Heartbreak, as painful as it is, becomes a mirror. It shows us aspects of ourselves that we might not notice in moments of comfort and happiness. Acceptance turns heartbreak into a teacher rather than a prison. Moreover, acceptance is the first step toward emotional freedom. When we resist reality, we carry a heavy burden of anger, resentment, or regret. We replay scenarios in our minds, wishing things had been different, and punishing ourselves for perceived mistakes. Acceptance does not erase the sadness, but it stops the additional suffering caused by mental struggle. It allows the heart to slowly unclench and the mind to stop cycling through what ifs and if onlys. Practically, acceptance can be nurtured through mindful awareness. Observe your feelings without labeling them as good or bad. Notice the thoughts that arise, but don't get entangled in them. Accept that it is okay to feel hurt, to feel lost, and even to feel scared about moving forward. The pain is real, and acknowledging it is the beginning of healing. Over time, the intensity of heartbreak diminishes, not because the memory disappears, but because acceptance allows you to hold it with grace rather than with resistance. Finally, acceptance is an act of self-compassion. By embracing what has happened, you are telling yourself, it is okay to feel this. It is okay to be human. It is okay to continue my journey, even with wounds. The heart becomes resilient not by avoiding pain, but by recognizing it, honoring it, and letting it exist without judgment. In accepting heartbreak, you are planting the seeds for future growth, strength, and the eventual return of joy. When heartbreak strikes, there is a natural tendency to want to shut down the pain, to hide from it, or to pretend that it doesn't exist. We often tell ourselves, I need to be strong, or I can't show how much this hurts. But the truth is, true strength does not lie in suppressing emotions. It lies in feeling them fully and embracing them with courage. Suppression only buries the pain temporarily, it doesn't heal it. Imagine a wound that is covered but never cleaned. It may appear fine on the surface, but inside, it festers and grows. The same is true for emotions. When we push away sadness, anger, or disappointment, they linger quietly, influencing our thoughts, our actions, and even our physical health. To heal from heartbreak, we must first give ourselves permission to feel. This means allowing the tears to come when they come, acknowledging the anger without judgment, and sitting with the sense of loss without trying to escape it. Feeling emotions fully is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign of authenticity. It is an acknowledgement that we are human, that we are capable of love, and that we have the courage to face pain rather than avoid it. The mind may try to distract us with endless thoughts or activities, but the heart knows the truth and it calls for attention. By honoring those emotions, we honor the depth of our own humanity. One of the reasons people struggle with feeling their emotions is the fear of being overwhelmed. We think that if we let ourselves cry, we might never stop. If we feel the sadness, it will consume us entirely. But emotions, like waves, have a natural rhythm. If you allow a wave to rise and fall, it eventually dissipates. When we resist it, the wave crashes violently, repeatedly. Allowing yourself to feel is learning to surf the wave rather than be drowned by it. It requires patience, gentleness, and self-compassion. Feeling emotions fully also allows for clarity and insight. When we suppress sadness or disappointment, our mind becomes clouded with unresolved thoughts. We may act impulsively, make decisions based on pain, or carry hidden resentment. By facing our emotions, by naming them and sitting with them, we create a space for reflection. We can ask ourselves, what does this sadness teach me about what I value? What does this disappointment reveal about my desires or boundaries? These moments of introspection often lead to growth that would not be possible if we were numb to our own feelings. Practical ways to feel emotions include journaling, meditation, or speaking with someone trusted. Sometimes simply saying, "I feel hurt," or "I am sad" out loud can provide immense relief. It validates the emotion and takes away the loneliness that often accompanies heartbreak. Physical expression, such as crying, walking, or even creative expression through art or music, can also help emotions move through us rather than stay trapped inside. Ultimately, allowing yourself to feel is an act of self-respect. It acknowledges that your experiences, your heart, and your journey matter. Heartbreak may be painful, but it is also an invitation to engage deeply with yourself, to connect with your own feelings, and to discover the resilience that lives within you. Suppression may seem easier in the short term, but it is through fully feeling, fully experiencing, and fully honoring our emotions that true healing begins. One of the most painful aspects of heartbreak is the way it can make us question our own value. When someone leaves us, when love fades, or when expectations are not met, it is easy to fall into the trap of thinking, "Am I not enough?" Or did I fail? But here lies a vital truth. Your worth is inherent and does not depend on anyone else's approval, affection, or presence in your life. No one can diminish it, and no one can increase it. You are valuable simply because you exist. In the aftermath of heartbreak, the human mind often clings to external validation. We replay memories, analyze interactions, and imagine what could have been done differently to be worthy of love. This mental loop keeps us trapped in self-doubt and unnecessary suffering. But the moment you internalize the truth that your value is independent of external circumstances, freedom begins. You begin to see that another person's inability to stay or reciprocate love is not a reflection of your shortcomings. People leave for countless reasons rooted in their own experiences, limitations, and choices, not because of your inadequacy. Recognizing your inherent worth also shifts the way you view relationships and connections. When you operate from a place of self-worth, you no longer seek validation through others. You love and care freely without the fear of losing yourself in the process. Heartbreak then becomes less of a judgment on your character and more of a life lesson about compatibility, timing, and growth. You learn that being loved by others is wonderful, but it is never the measure of who you are. Furthermore, understanding your self-worth is deeply empowering. It allows you to set boundaries without guilt, to walk away from situations that do not honor you, and to prioritize your emotional and mental health. It is the foundation upon which resilience is built. When heartbreak strikes, those who know their worth recover faster because they do not collapse under the weight of rejection. They acknowledge the pain, feel it, but refuse to let it define them. The journey to truly recognizing your worth often requires introspection. Ask yourself, who am I outside of relationships and roles? What qualities, talents, and values make me uniquely me? When you identify these truths about yourself, you create a stable inner identity that cannot be shaken by external events. Journaling, meditation, and self-reflection can help reinforce this understanding. Every act of self-love, however small, whether it's taking care of your body, pursuing a passion, or simply honoring your emotions, reminds you that your worth is constant and independent. It is also important to remember that heartbreak can be an opportunity to reestablish this awareness. Often, we give our power away in relationships, tying our happiness and sense of value to someone else's presence. When a relationship ends, it forces us to reconnect with ourselves. This is not a punishment. It is a chance to remember that we are complete, capable, and deserving, regardless of external validation. Ultimately, the pain of heartbreak diminishes when you root yourself in this truth. I fruitfully learn to honor your emotions without letting them dictate your self-perception. You may feel sadness, loneliness, or even regret. But underneath all of it is the unwavering understanding that your worth is intrinsic, timeless, and untouchable by anyone else. This realization becomes a shield, a source of strength. and a guiding light toward healthier relationships and a more peaceful heart. Heartbreak often leaves a trail of anger, resentment, and self-blame. When someone hurts us, abandons us, or fails to meet our expectations, it is natural to feel wronged. The mind clings to the desire for justice, replaying moments and asking, "Why me?" or "How could they?" Sometimes we even turn this anger inward, blaming ourselves for what went wrong, questioning our choices, and punishing ourselves for imagined mistakes. But carrying this weight of bitterness prevents healing. Forgiveness is the key to releasing it, and it begins with an understanding that forgiveness is not about the other person. It is about freeing your own heart. Forgiving someone does not mean that you condone their actions or pretend that the pain did not happen. It does not mean you must continue to trust them or stay in a situation that hurt you. Instead, forgiveness is a conscious decision to let go of the burden of anger, resentment, and blame. It is saying to yourself, "I will not let this situation control my peace." By doing this, you reclaim your own emotional freedom. Holding on to resentment is like holding a hot coal, expecting someone else to burn. The one who suffers the most is always you. Forgiveness allows you to drop the coal, to release the grip of negativity, and to breathe again. Equally important is forgiving yourself. Heartbreak often triggers self-criticism, making you feel like you could have acted differently, loved better, or made different choices. While reflection can lead to growth, excessive self-blame only deepens suffering. By practicing self-forgiveness, you acknowledge that you acted with the best of your knowledge and capacity at the time. You remind yourself that making mistakes, being vulnerable, and loving deeply are part of the human experience. Self-forgiveness is an act of compassion toward your own heart, and it allows you to move forward without carrying unnecessary guilt. Forgiveness also shifts your perspective on the situation itself. Life is full of experiences that are imperfect, fleeting, and sometimes painful. By forgiving the circumstances, not just the people involved, you stop resisting reality. You accept that life does not always unfold according to your desires, that disappointment is inevitable, and that pain, though temporary, carries a lesson. This perspective transforms heartbreak from a source of endless suffering into an opportunity for growth, understanding, and emotional maturity. Practically, forgiveness can be nurtured through conscious reflection and mindfulness. You might start by acknowledging your feelings of hurt, anger, or betrayal without judgment. Then, gently remind yourself that holding on to these feelings prolongs pain rather than heals it. Visualize letting go of the negativity, releasing the tension, and creating space for peace. Journaling can also help. Writing letters you may never send, expressing your emotions fully, and then symbolically letting them go. Forgiveness is a gift you give to yourself. It does not erase the memory of heartbreak, but it transforms the way you carry it. It allows your heart to unclench, your mind to quiet, and your spirit to regain its lightness. Over time, The act of forgiveness strengthens resilience, deepens emotional intelligence, and enables you to approach life with greater empathy, wisdom, and calm. In essence, practicing forgiveness toward yourself, toward others, and even toward the situation is an act of liberation. It allows you to release the chains of pain and resentment and step into a space of peace and growth. It is one of the most profound ways to honor your own journey through heartbreak, turning what feels like an ending into a doorway toward inner freedom and strength. Heartbreak often leaves us feeling drained, lost, or even hollow. In the midst of emotional pain, it's easy to fall into the trap of dwelling on what went wrong, replaying memories, or waiting for someone else to fix the emptiness we feel. But one of the most empowering ways to navigate heartbreak is to redirect that energy into self, growth, and personal development. The pain you feel, though difficult, is also a powerful signal, an invitation to invest in yourself, to nurture your talents, and to build a stronger, wiser, and more resilient version of you. Self-growth begins with self-awareness. Heartbreak provides a unique opportunity to reflect on who you are, what you value, and what you truly want from life. Often, in relationships, we prioritize others, their needs, and their expectations, sometimes at the cost of our own identity. When a relationship ends, it is a chance to reclaim yourself. Ask yourself, what are my passions? What are my dreams? What makes my heart truly happy? By answering these questions, you lay the foundation for growth that is deeply rooted in your own desires rather than external validation. Investing energy in personal development also helps to restore confidence and self-esteem. Heartbreak can make you feel rejected or unworthy, but learning new skills, pursuing hobbies, or setting personal goals reminds you of your abilities and your potential. Whether it's reading, learning a new language, starting a fitness journey, or exploring creative outlets, these activities shift your focus from what was lost to what you can create. Every small achievement becomes a brick in the rebuilding of your self-worth. Another vital aspect of channeling energy into growth is emotional resilience. Heartbreak teaches us that pain is temporary and manageable, but it can also leave lingering emotional scars if unaddressed. Personal development, including practices like meditation, journaling, or mindfulness, strengthens your emotional muscles. You learn to process emotions without being overwhelmed by them, to respond to challenges with clarity rather than impulsivity, and to maintain inner balance even in difficult situations. Growth, in this sense, is not just about external accomplishments, but about cultivating inner strength. Physical health is another area where focusing on self growth can be transformative. Heartbreak often affects sleep, appetite, and energy levels. Investing time in exercise, nutrition, and self-care routines nurtures the body, which in turn supports the mind and emotions. A healthy body creates a stable foundation for a healthy mind, helping you navigate the aftermath of heartbreak with greater resilience and vitality. Furthermore, Channeling energy into self, growth fosters a sense of purpose and direction. Heartbreak can make life feel meaningless or uncertain, but setting personal goals, big or small, creates a roadmap for moving forward. It turns focus away from what you cannot change and toward what you can influence. Each step you take, each skill you acquire, and each personal milestone you achieve reinforces the truth that your happiness and success are ultimately in your hands. Ultimately, using heartbreak as a catalyst for self-growth is a profound act of self-love. It transforms pain into power, loss into learning, and despair into determination. The energy that might have been spent dwelling on sorrow now fuels your evolution, shaping a version of you that is wiser, stronger, and more compassionate. By focusing on personal development, you honor the experience of heartbreak while also stepping confidently into a future that is brighter, fuller, and uniquely your own. Heartbreak can make us feel isolated, as if the world has suddenly grown colder and lonelier. In such moments, the company we keep becomes crucial. Surrounding yourself with supportive, positive people is not just comforting, it is transformative. The energy, words, and presence of those around us shape our thoughts, emotions, and ultimately, the trajectory of our healing. Just as sunlight nourishes a plant, the right relationships nourish the heart and spirit, helping us recover from the shadow of loss with greater strength and clarity. When you are heartbroken, it is natural to feel vulnerable, insecure, or even unworthy. Negative thoughts can spiral, convincing you that no one understands or that the pain will never pass. Being around people who uplift, encourage, and genuinely care acts as a stabilizing force in there. Their support reminds you that you are not alone, that your feelings are valid, and that life still holds kindness, love, and connection. This kind of environment fosters emotional safety, giving your heart the freedom to process pain without judgment or additional stress. Positive relationships also serve as mirrors, reflecting the strength and resilience you may have forgotten you possess. Friends, family, or mentors who listen without interrupting, who offer perspective without criticism, and who celebrate even small steps forward, help you regain confidence and self-belief. Their encouragement reminds you that heartbreak does not define you and that you have inherent worth regardless of circumstances. The gentle affirmation of supportive people acts as a reminder that life's setbacks are temporary and that growth and joy are still possible. Equally important is the influence of the energy around you. Human beings are naturally sensitive to the emotional states of those in their proximity. Being surrounded by negativity, people who complain, judge, or dwell on pain can intensify feelings of despair. Conversely, spending time with positive, compassionate individuals creates an atmosphere of hope, resilience, and possibility. Their optimism becomes contagious, subtly shifting your own mindset and helping you focus on solutions, learning, and moving forward rather than being trapped in rumination and regret. Supportive people also model healthy ways of coping. observing how someone else manages challenges with patience, mindfulness, and grace provides practical guidance for your own emotional journey. You begin to see that pain, while real and inevitable, can be faced with dignity and courage. Their presence is a living example that life continues and that happiness, connection, and personal growth are still attainable. Additionally, the act of seeking and maintaining these connections reinforces your own sense of self-care. Choosing to spend time with those who uplift you rather than with those who drain you is an intentional step in prioritizing your emotional well-being. It is a recognition that your heart and mind deserve protection, encouragement, and positivity. These relationships become a source of healing energy, allowing you to process grief, rebuild confidence, and reorient toward the future. Ultimately, surrounding yourself with supportive, positive people is not just about temporary comfort. It is about creating a foundation for long-term emotional resilience. It reminds you that heartbreak, while painful, is not the end of your story. The warmth, encouragement, and wisdom of those who genuinely care act as a guiding light, helping you navigate the difficult days, regain hope, and rediscover joy. In their presence, you are reminded that life is full of connections, love, and growth, and that even after heartbreak, your heart can heal, thrive, and open again to happiness. Heartbreak can feel like an endless storm, a cloud that never lifts, and a weight that never lightens. In these moments, it is easy to believe that the sadness, loneliness, or despair you feel will last forever. But one of the most powerful truths about emotions is that they are temporary. All feelings, no matter how intense, overwhelming, or painful, come and go. Understanding this impermanence is a crucial step toward healing because it allows you to navigate heartbreak with patience, hope, and perspective. When we are in the depths of emotional pain, our mind often exaggerates the permanence of suffering. Thoughts like, "I will never be happy again," or "I cannot survive this," dominate our consciousness. Yet, just as seasons change, storms pass, and night turns to day, so too do feelings shift and transform. The sadness you feel today is not permanent. It is a wave, and like all waves, it will rise, crest, and eventually recede. When you internalize this, you begin to realize that emotional pain is not a trap, but a temporary state, an experience to be observed, felt, and eventually released. Understanding the temporary nature of feelings does not mean ignoring or suppressing them. On the contrary, it encourages you to feel fully, knowing that the intensity will naturally diminish over time. When you allow yourself to experience the full spectrum of emotions without judgment, you cultivate resilience and self-trust. You learn that even the deepest sadness can coexist with hope, that tears can cleanse the heart and that emotional suffering is not a permanent definition of who you are. This perspective also brings patience. Healing is not instantaneous. Just as a broken bone requires time to mend, so too does a wounded heart. By remembering that feelings pass, you give yourself permission to move at your own pace. Without guilt or pressure, you allow yourself to grieve, reflect, and rebuild gradually, trusting that each day brings a subtle shift toward lightness and clarity. Patience in the face of heartbreak is an act of self-compassion, acknowledging that growth and healing cannot be rushed. Recognizing impermanence also fosters hope. When emotions are seen as temporary, heartbreak is no longer an endless cycle of despair but a passing chapter in your life story. You start to see that new experiences, new connections, and new joys are possible, even inevitable. Each wave of sadness carries with it the promise that relief and peace will come, and that your heart has the capacity to feel joy again. Practically, you can nurture this understanding through mindfulness and observation. Notice your emotions as they arise. Label them without judgment. This is sadness. This is anger. This is fear. And remind yourself that they are temporary. Focus on the present moment rather than projecting the intensity of feelings into an imagined eternity. Breathing exercises, meditation, or even simple moments of reflection can help anchor you in the reality that emotions flow naturally and that no state lasts forever. Ultimately, the internalizing the temporary nature of feelings allows you to live fully even while heartbroken. You can honor your emotions without becoming trapped by them. You can feel deeply, cry if needed, and grieve, all while trusting that the storm will pass and that the sun will return. This understanding transforms heartbreak from a source of endless suffering into a teacher of patience, resilience, and hope. It reminds you that life is ever changing, and that even the darkest emotional moments are fleeting. And within that fleetingness lies the promise of healing, growth, and renewed joy. Heartbreak has a way of clouding our vision, making it difficult to see anything beyond the pain, the loss, or the disappointment. Our minds become consumed with what went wrong and what could have been, leaving little room for joy, hope, or appreciation. Yet even in the midst of sorrow, cultivating gratitude is a powerful tool for healing and transformation. Gratitude does not diminish the reality of heartbreak, nor does it demand that you instantly feel happy. Instead, it shifts your focus from what is missing to what remains, from despair to possibility, and from victimhood to empowerment. When you consciously practice gratitude, even in small ways, you begin to notice aspects of life that continue to sustain and support you. Perhaps it is the warmth of the sun, the comfort of a friend's presence, or the simple ability to breathe and move. Even the tiniest things, a kind word, a smile, a quiet moment of peace, become anchors in the storm. These moments remind you that life is still giving, still beautiful, even if your heart feels heavy. Gratitude helps you reclaim perspective. It is not about ignoring pain, but about balancing it with recognition of the good that still exists. Cultivating gratitude amidst heartbreak also strengthens resilience. When you acknowledge the blessings in your life, no matter how small, you send a message to your mind and heart that you are capable of seeing beyond suffering. This does not erase sadness, but it prevents you from being consumed entirely by it. Gratitude becomes a counterbalance to despair, a reminder that your life is more than a single painful experience. Over time, this perspective helps you approach challenges with a sense of hope rather than helplessness. Gratitude also fosters emotional clarity. When heartbreak clouds our judgment, we may feel trapped in anger, regret, or longing. By intentionally recognizing what is still positive or meaningful in our lives, we create mental space to process emotions more calmly and constructively. This shift in focus allows us to learn from heartbreak rather than be imprisoned by it. We start to see the lessons in loss, the opportunities for personal growth, and the strength that emerges from facing pain head-on. Practically, cultivating gratitude can take many forms. You might keep a daily journal, writing down 3 things you are grateful for each day, even if they are simple or mundane. You could take a moment to silently acknowledge the support of friends, family, or even strangers who bring light into your life. Meditation or reflective prayer can also help center your mind on appreciation, allowing your heart to feel warmth even amidst sadness. These practices train your mind to seek positivity alongside difficulty, gradually making gratitude a natural response rather than a forced effort. Importantly, gratitude transforms the way we relate to ourselves. Heartbreak often comes with self-criticism and negative self-talk. By recognizing your own strengths, your efforts, and your resilience, you create a sense of self-appreciation that supports emotional recovery. You remind yourself that you have survived challenges before, that you have loved deeply, and that you have the courage to continue moving forward. Gratitude nurtures self-love, which is essential for healing. Ultimately, cultivating gratitude amidst pain is an act of courage. It acknowledges that life is complex, containing both joy and sorrow, gain and loss. By focusing on what is good, even in the darkest times, you reclaim power over your perspective and emotions. Gratitude does not erase heartbreak, but it transforms it, allowing your heart to soften, your mind to clear, and your spirit to find hope. It becomes a bridge from suffering to growth, showing you that even in loss, life still offers countless reasons to feel blessed, connected, and alive.